This past week, as every year for a couple of years already, for 6 years or 7 years already, at my house is the week in which we get ready for sending our kids off to camp. You can feel how the week after Memorial Day is packing week at home. Actually, my daughter's camp luggage is already on its way to camp. We dropped it off at the mall yesterday, and I can track it because I placed an air tag there, and I can see how the bags are moving through the country on their way to Camp Ramah Darom. But also, we've been talking a lot about luggage because Rabbi Berkun had an issue with his luggage on his trip for a wedding this past week, and so we spoke a lot about luggage. And since I love traveling, luggage is an important aspect of my life. But I'm not here to talk about the luggage that I take with me when I travel, but to talk about the weekly parsha that also has a packing and unpacking aspect. Because this week we begin the reading of the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, and the book of Numbers starts with a census of each and every tribe of the Israelite nation as they get ready to journey through the wilderness. But of course, there's one tribe that is going to be missing in the first census, which is a tribe that has special attributes and special responsibilities, the tribe of the Levites. So the tribe of the Levites are going to be left off the first census and are going to be counted in the second part of the Parsha. Actually, they are counted twice in this week's Parsha because they have a very important responsibility. What is the responsibility of the tribe of the Levites in the journey through the wilderness? To make sure that wherever the Israelites travel, the Mishkan travels with them. Mishkan is this kind of portable synagogue that they established during the journey through the desert in order to connect with God. And the Mishkan was kind of a tent. So just like when we go camping, you have to unpack the tent, you assemble the tent, and when you are off to the next station of your journey, you pack the tent and you take the tent with you. Now there were 3 families within the Levite tribe because Levi, the son of Jacob, had 3 children, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. So each of these families, the descendants of Gershon, of Kohath, and Merari, will have different responsibilities when it comes to carrying everything that they have to take with them. So one of the families is going to be in charge of the poles and the fabric of the tent. I believe that's Gershon. There's another family that is Merari, that are going to be in charge of the planks, and the most important of the 3 families, which is the family of Kohath, the family from which Moses and Aaron eventually descend, is going to be in charge of carrying the Holy Ark, the Torah. Now you may think that the family that is charged with the most important responsibility will be given more resources. But exactly the opposite happens in the Torah. The family that has to carry the poles and the fabric is given a cart, like a wagon, to carry all that. The family that has to carry the big size planks of the Mishkan is given 2 wagons. But the family of Kohath that has to carry the ark is given no carts, no wagons. God is going to instruct them to carry the ark on their shoulders. And actually, there is an episode in the book of Samuel when King David moves the ark from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of Jerusalem before building the temple, in which someone has the brilliant idea of building a cart to give the ark more prominence. This man's name was Uzzah. And he builds a cart, and he pulls the cart, parading the ark on the way to Jerusalem, and God punishes him and kills him. Because the ark was to be carried in people's shoulders. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor about what is it that we carry and how do we pack our luggage. Because just like when we pack for camp or when we pack for a trip, I am sure that you have those things that you would never put in a checked luggage. For me, for example, is the feeling. Every time I'm on a trip and I am asked to check my suitcase, even if it's a carry-on, because there's no place on the overhead compartments and all that, there are a few things that I want to take with me. There are a few things that don't go on my checked luggage. And when I have to travel and I don't have a baggage allowance, and I have to decide what is it that I actually need for my trip, and what are the things that I can live without. That's kind of an existential question about the things that I want to carry on my shoulders and the things that they are great, but I can live a couple of days without them. The family of Kohath had the important responsibility of carrying the most precious thing that the Israelite people had, the Torah, and in order to ensure that it was going to reach their destination, they had to carry it on their shoulders. Actually, we don't know what happened to most of the Mishkan. The fabrics and the poles and the planks, with the carts, with the wagons, with all the artifacts to secure them during the trip, they disappeared. But what didn't disappear was the Torah. This past week, I was teaching a class to a group of people who are being introduced to the basics of Judaism. And we had this conversation about how the Jewish people migrated from place to place and from place to place in the past 2,000 years. I actually said there's probably no country in Europe from which the Jews have not been expelled at some point during medieval ages. And part of the wisdom of our people was to have the ability to know what was essential and what could be left behind, to know what to carry and what to leave. Perhaps some of you, the oldest among our members, remember a dear member of our congregation who passed away maybe 6 years ago, Victor Farkas. He was a Holocaust survivor. And his father, who stayed behind, had 6 golden coins. And he knew that during the Shoah, those coins may mean the difference between Auschwitz and survival. And so he had sewn the coins as buttons to his jacket. And that's all he needed to survive. Everything else he could leave behind. But there was a moment in which a coin was changed for a loaf of bread. There was a moment in which the other coin was changed for a fake passport. Another coin was changed or was used to bribe a guard at a train who looked at him and discovered that he was Jewish. And so he came to America with only 1 coin left. And he was very proud of saying that that coin had made it to the next generation and now is in the hands of his great-grandchildren. At the end of the day, it's very little what we have to carry with us. But if we don't have the wisdom to distinguish between the essential and the non-essential, we take with us so many things that we don't need, and we tend to forget what is it that will make it with us and push us to the next station of the journey. As I was telling the students that are learning the basics of Judaism, one of the most beautiful things about the Jewish people is that we created a national identity that is portable. The Greeks couldn't take the Parthenon with them. The Romans couldn't take the Colosseum with them. But a small book with the Torah fits in any purse. A book of Psalms, a tefillim, a talit that belonged to your grandfather, and even more, the essence and the values of our traditions. You can pack them here and take them with you wherever you go. I believe that it is at the core of the secret of the survival of our people to distinguish between that which can be left behind and that which we need to make sure never goes on the checked luggage, because if it got lost, we are lost. May we be inspired by this week's Parsha, as many of us are starting to pack for our summer travels with the ability to know what is it that we need and what is it that we can leave at home.